It's the second time I worked with David, and it was a huge thrill because he's one of the directors of our generation, who I feel is one of the most creative and appreciative and makes use of music in his filmmaking. He really understands the power of music, and you've seen in all of his films. He wanted some music before he started shooting. It was great for me because I felt it gave me a chance to sort of audition ideas for him and give us a back and forth. But as a filmmaker, it also helps him because he comes from the music video world, and he actually gets inspired by music. Because I think as a composer, when you don't have the tyranny of sort of a scene, although those limits can be wonderful and prod you, writing to picture is a very sort of, you have a lot decided for you in terms of structure, length, maybe where certain dramatic beats are. When you just sit down to write a theme, you don't have those constrictions, so you think a little differently in terms of, okay, let me make a musical shape that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And actually, out of that first batch of 4 themes, one of those became the main title theme, and some other themes, which I'll hack away at the piano for you later. And it became very useful in the show. And the original sketch really just had 2 of those elements. It had the bass line, and it had what you think of as the tune that's played by the low strings and the French horn. The tinkly part, the dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, the little hemiola that happens, that was actually stolen from another theme I wrote for David that I always called the Puppet Master theme. It's sort of the idea of Kevin Spacey's characters. I always thought of him as a puppet master, this guy who was just sort of, pulling the strings on everyone. So when we were getting ready to work on the main title, and David had actually, part of the fun of working with David is as a filmmaker, I could give him these sketches and let him figure out what went where. And without ever asking him what to do, or the next time I got the main title sequence back on, the temp music had been removed and that sketch with the bass line was in there, and it was working pretty good, but it didn't have the energy that it needed because it was just written as a sketch. But David also gave me another idea which really helped shape the main title, which is he thought, wouldn't it be cool if the main title, because we have a long section, it's nice, it's about a 90-second piece of music. Wouldn't it be neat if we sort of, the main title was a sort of this microcosm of all the music of the world of the show. Of course, that in realistic terms, you never can do that, but I thought, well, let me think what I can add in here that relates to other themes that can build this sort of tapestry. So that the Puppet Master theme made it into there in that sort of descending chromatic that you hear over the A minor. Another aspect of the theme, which was kind of always there from the beginning, which I always really liked, and it's, I work very improvisationally. I don't like to I like to just be in the moment, I think, because I'm an improviser. I don't really think about what I'm doing while I'm doing it, but there is a way in which there's these sort of unintended dissonances that happen in the theme, because it starts out in A minor, it actually goes to A major a little bit at the end, but the bass line always stays in A minor, never changes. And I always liked the tension that created because it's raw. It's a wrong note. It's a mistake. I mean, in classical terms, but it creates this weird sense of like something's off, something's not right. A very musical family. My wife Joan is a fantastic opera singer. We went to Eastman together, and she sung on a lot of my scores. In fact, on House of Cards, starting in season 2, I think we started using a little operatic soprano. I have to trace it all back to my roots as a jazz player, because when you play jazz in a band, in a group, it's all about listening and collaborating with everybody else. It's not just about what you're doing, it's about how what you're doing is interacting in real time with all the members of the group. And I love that sort of energy I get from the other people. They'll feed you an idea and all of a sudden it'll spur you on somewhere, and there's this constant sort of feedback loop of creativity that's happening. I think, the first jazz record that really sort of blew my mind, not only as a trumpet player, but also as a composer, was a record that my grandmother gave me when I was probably 13 or 14. It was Gil Evans' Sketches of Spain, which is an amazing accomplishment, not only of trumpet playing by Miles Davis, but also orchestration by Gil Evans. And I got an image of this amazing sort of world of improvisation and instrumentation that was so colorful and so expressive. It really stuck with me a long time. There's a lot of artists I admire as trumpet players, for sure. I mean, Clifford Brown, Clark Terry, Woody Shaw. I also have listened to a lot of piano players over the years. I'm not a very good piano player, but I play a lot of piano, and I like hearing great jazz pianists play, because in a way they're responsible for not only the melodic but the harmonic context of what they're doing. So I was a big Keith Jarrett fan, and obviously Brad Mehldau is another person I just love his music. So those are some of the people that I enjoy. And I think the jazz musicians who speak to me the most are the ones that sort of imagine, they're able to sort of carve out their own voice in music. Pat Metheny's another one, John Scofield. You know, these artists that, they tend to be composers in a certain level, and they're able to sort of, you know, marry a sense of composition with what they're doing as an improviser and sort of make a total statement, which that speaks to me a lot, you know.